Are you listening?
Welcome to The Roar, the reaction podcast for fans of the Detroit Lions. You know, I'm not even going to do all that. So I'm Demetrius. Mike's my producer. You guys know where to find us. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. You know, if you're listening, you know who we are. You know why we're here. And you know how to get to us. So I'm not even doing all of that. I don't even feel like doing this podcast right now. I got to be honest. But this is the whole point. It's the reaction, right? And so it's week 6 of the 2019 season. And hold on, Mike. Okay, week 6 of the 2019 season, and I just watched the Lions lose to maybe get beat by, I'm not sure the right term to use, right? To the refs, right? The game was in Green Bay and the Packers get the win, but even Aaron Rodgers said it didn't feel like a win. He's not even proud of it because this is bullshit. This is horrible. And I knew I was going to have to do one of these podcasts, probably more, because I'm a Lions fan. I know how this works, right? So I knew there was going to come a time where I was going to have to do one of these podcasts where I really wasn't going to want to do it, right? I was going to say, look, I'll just wait. I'll wait a couple of days, let this thing decompress, and I'll get on and be all polished and good. But that is not at all what this is, right? This is reaction. This is right now the ridiculousness that is officiating. And don't worry, I'm not going to blame it totally on the refs. I had plenty for the refs, but the Lions did enough themselves, both in practical dumb play calling, right? That no foot on the neck mentality. You're up 13-0. You're up 13-7. You have all these opportunities to stomp the Packers out in Lambeau. And you come out your first 2 possessions and you play like you want this game. And then you start running. There's plenty to go around. I'm going to reset it. I am not happy with the offensive play calling for a good portion of the game. I am not happy with legitimate dumbass penalties that just should never happen. And I'm not the dude that says, hey, somebody's got to get fired. I'm sure John Bonamego is a nice guy. He's probably a good grandfather, all that nonsense. I'm done. I'm done with this dude. I'm sorry. I don't ever remember seeing 12 men on the field on special teams, like get called on someone. They've done it twice, right? And there were 3 or 4 legitimate penalties that cost them last night. Special teams is a joke. Officiating is a joke. They got to do something. Okay, we're going to get to the particulars. So the final score was 23-22 Packers. They kicked the field goal as time expired. There's so much to go over, so much to unpack. I'm just going to drop the particulars relatively quickly and get on to the decompression that I need to happen from what I just saw. The Lions, despite at times looking like a really good offense and having some creativities with reverses and really nice deep play action passes very early in the game, only finished with 299 total yards. The Packers dropped 447. It didn't even look like that. And make no mistake, I'm not going to bash the Packers here, but they're not that good. I'm sorry. They're not that good. Now there are going to be people, Chris, who can say it's because of injury, which I'm sure it doesn't help when your top wideout's out. And I think they lost another guy during the game. And I'm going to get to that bullshit too. But so when you only have 56 yards rushing, especially when you have it on 20 carries, there's a problem. There's a problem. And I continually use the term dive plays, whatever the right term is, because they're just plays that run generally between the guards, not even between the tackles, between the guards. These plays, I don't know what the purpose of them are, but when you have 56 yards rushing on 20 carries, they're not working. What you're doing is not working. Don't bang your head against a brick wall and don't give me nonsense about, oh, you're setting them up for something later and you got to keep balance. I don't want to hear any of that crap. It's not working. They've got to do something different in their run game. I had one game against Kansas City, and I think that was more a product of Kansas City's run defense sucks than anything they did. Carry-on's solid, and he's making chicken salad out of chicken crap every game. The Packers had 170 yards rushing. This defense was supposed to be, all right, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give the stats. Particulars are about stats. Packers had 170 yards rushing. Well, I don't think they played that well. That was good. That was good for them, right? Didn't help us. That extended some drives. A lot of that was on the probably last drive that went damn near 7 minutes, I imagine, when they just did whatever they wanted, right? But they turned the ball over 3 times, right? And we turned it over. We didn't turn it over at all. You win the turnover battle +3, and you don't get the win. I don't even know. Okay, so they were dealing with injuries, right? They had Devontae Adams out. He's got a turf toe thing. We got some guys back. T.J. Hockenson came back. Not necessarily thrilled about his play, but he was back. Darius Slay was back. Gave us a standard Darius Slay game. You didn't hear a lot because they didn't throw his way because he's that good. Still without Mike Daniels. I don't know if that signing was worth it. I don't know if we're going to see the guy on the field. He's still dealing with his foot. And Quandre Diggs is still out with a hamstring. So we get to the thing that I talk about every podcast. It will always drive me crazy. I need to slow down. I'm too heated right now. It's like But that's what this is supposed to be. That's the point of all this. While we didn't turn the ball over at all, we had 8 penalties for 50 yards. And so when they report penalty stats, that's how they report it. 8 penalties that cost 50 yards. That's the theory of what the 8 penalties cost, right? And I'm going to save my penalty rant for later, I think. No, I'm not. I'm going to do it now. So every time I talk about this, and it's getting redundant, but it has to be said because it was more evident in this game than any other game this season. When they commit 8 penalties for 50 yards, they'll have 1 or 2 like holding or false starts, the nonsense penalties that don't cost you games. So I'm going to break the 8 penalties down here. 4 of them were bullshit, right? Just should have never been called. There was unnecessary roughness on Tracy Walker. That was, I'll get to that. There was 2 hands to the face calls on Trey Flowers that are just utterly ridiculous. This is just, I'll save it for the ref part of this, but I really want to quote a line from Anchorman, but I don't know who might listen to this podcast, so I'm going to save it. This is. I talked a couple weeks ago about they're killing my game. You can multiply that by 1,000. What they're doing is ridiculous, right? And okay, 8 penalties, 50 yards. My point is simply this: there were probably 4 of those were real penalties. 3 of those 4 were dumb. I could do a whole podcast on how the do you get a 12? How do you get a 12 men on the field penalty for the second time this year on special teams? What do you practice? What the hell is happening? These penalties cost the game. They cost us the game. I don't even know. I feel like that's a fireable offense. The first time you get like a warning, you get on a PIP. That's a performance improvement plan at work, right? That warning. And then the second time you get fired. I don't know how easy it is to go find a new special teams coach. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm a fan who just watched some nonsense. And it's not all the ref's fault. I don't know what the hell is going on with the special teams. I don't know. I know that I've watched a lot of football in my life, and I've seen some crap that I've never seen before. I don't know what's going on. So the penalty thing, penalties and turnovers cost games, guys. The yardage and stuff I put in the particulars, that is interesting stuff. It's interesting to figure out how the hell did they run the ball 20 times and only have 56 yards rushing. What? How did the Packers rush for 170 yards? This screams we have a schematic problem in our running game and we have a problem in our run defense consistently. And I do it because every game we get the same thing. Outside of Kansas City, who I still contend is a crappy run team on defense, where we had success, every other game I have talked about, why can't we run the ball? Why can't we run the ball? What the hell's the problem with the running game? Why can't we run the ball? Every time. So when we talk about the particulars, there's a reason. I want to talk about the guys that are out. I want to talk about turnovers and penalties for the most part. And then I'll throw in other stats that I feel matter, like 56 yards rushing on 20 carries. This is ridiculous. There's a lot of blame that goes to the Lions. There's plenty that goes to the refs. Or I should say Lions players, Lions coaches, refs. Those are the three parts. And so if you've listened to the podcast before, normally we do a segment called blah, blah, blah. And what I've come to realize after 4 games is that's a waste, right? It's slightly amusing to Mike and I. I don't even know if you guys enjoy it. But what I've decided is there's no real value in it because they never say anything. So we're changing up the format. We're creating a new segment here, and we're just going to call it the Central. I'm going to take a quick look at what happened to the other 3 teams on a particular weekend, what's going on with them. And the idea here is that if we are who we want to be, we're going to start scoreboard watching, right? Like in baseball, you start watching what other teams do. This is a deal where we're going to pay attention to what happened with the Vikings. What did the Bears do, right? So we're going to change it up, and I'm going to take a couple of minutes and go through the other teams in the division and what happened before I jump into the rest of this game. So it'll be short, it'll be sweet, but it'll just give you a touch point on, hey, what's going on? Where's the standings? What are these guys doing? So we're going to move on to the new segment we call the Central. Why am I calling it the Central? Oh, wait, see, I'm so heated. It's the North. It's not the Central. It used to be the Central. It's the North. Okay, so the segment is called the North. The division is called the North. But this game has messed me up so much that I actually just called it the Central. Oh, man, Mike, this is tough. The segment is called the North. The teams are in the North, and we're moving on to the North. So in this new segment that we call the North, the idea is simple. After the game, I'm going to take a look at what happened with the Packers, Bears, and Vikings to just kind of see where we're sitting, right? My intention is to just for it to be a quick update, unless something significant happens where it's impactful. And as we get later in the season, if things go well, that might be the case. But right now it's not. You know, we played the Packers and the refs and lost. So they're now 5-2. We are 2-1. The Vikings, I believe now will be in second place because they are 4-2. And they won, looked very, very good this week. I'm not sure if they're complete yet, but they, unlike the Lions, have put together a couple of games where they've been complete. I think this is the toughest division in football. I'm going to say that every week. I think these teams are all good. I'm not sure any one of them is great, but unlike other divisions where there's a great team, AFC East, New England's probably the best team in football. Buffalo's okay, right? And then you have Jets and Miami, and just drop off, right? Where those are 4 easy wins for Jets and Bills, right? We don't have that luxury. There's no easy win in this division. We're going to scrape and scrap everybody, not just the Lions, and beat each other up, right? The Bears lost to the Packers. I think the Packers also beat the Vikings. Yeah, so both of Minnesota's losses are in the division. And by the way, they come to Ford Field next week. So this is what this division is going to be like, which is why I thought the North would be a decent segment, because we're going to beat each other up over the next 11 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever's left. And I think it's going to be important when this all shakes out. Because make no mistake, the Packers got the win tonight. I don't know, particularly in their current health situation, if they're significantly better than us. In fact, I don't think they are. I think in a lot of ways we outplayed them. Right. And I think that's why Aaron Rodgers says this doesn't feel like a win. I think, and I'm not sitting here saying, oh, the Lions should have won the game. Wow. Yes, I am. Forget that. I'm saying exactly that. The Lions should have won the game. But they didn't. The Packers won. And I could do the whole trophy room speech again. I think a big part of what happened in this game was trophy room mentality. You go get it. You take it. You don't kick 5 field goals. You get in the end zone. You score touchdowns. Oh, by the way, I don't even know if our touchdown was an actual touchdown. I'll get to that. Because the refs screwed everybody, right? They're horrible. But this is about the North. I'm going to struggle to not digress every segment into a rant about officiating. There's a time and a place for that, and I'm going to try and make it. So like I said, the Vikings won. I forgot who they played because I'm too pissed about this game to even care. But they're 4-2. Bears were at a bye. So they're 3-2. We get them, I think, still 3-4 weeks before we get them, but we get them twice in 3 weeks or something like that. And we'll see what they are and who we are at that time. This game hurt because it's the Packers. This game hurt because I'm not sure we're not the better team right now. Doesn't mean we will be in 10 weeks or whatever. I'm not sure that today we weren't a better team than them and we didn't get the win in their place when we should have. So I believe as the rankings shake out, because they're not in front of me and I'm guessing, 5-2 obviously at the top. I think Minnesota's 4-2, the Bears are 3-2, and we're now last, right? We won the game, we would have been in first, but we lost and we're in last. That's funny. But that's a week 6 thing. So I think this is going to be, as Randy Moss said in the infamous one clap video, this is going to be a fun ride. So I think it's important to pay attention to the North, watch what they're doing, especially when we're playing each other. And so right now, Green Bay's on top, and we'll see how things shake out. So with that said, I'm going to move on to the quarterback. I thought that I'll get into the numbers, but this is another game, the 5th game, where I would say had we won, I would have said Matthew Stafford is not the reason we won that game. And that we lost, I will tell you Matthew Stafford is not the reason that they lost the game. So this is what I have wanted Matthew Stafford to be. This is what I've asked for. I think through 5 games, Matthew Stafford is exactly what I think. He's being hamstrung by incredibly bad play calling at times. And so that makes it tough. But at times, the play calling gives him no shot. He struggled from a health standpoint against Kansas City. He wasn't right. He looked a lot better in this game. But let's get to number 9. So this segment in my mind, when Mike and I started talking about this, was simple. I had 2 purposes. One, I have always felt that this particular guy got a bad rap, right? There are people who do this kind of thing for a living. And my disclaimer again, which I say in every podcast, I'm not a broadcaster. I'm not a journalist. I'm just a fan. But there are guys who do this for a living every day. Those people, in my mind, have unfairly categorized this particular quarterback for years, right? And I would listen and say to myself, wait, I don't get what all the Stafford bashing is about. I don't get what the Stafford hate is all about. I've never really gotten it. So I remember saying to Mike, I want to try and objectively every game look at his performance, right? And the second part was the reality is for most teams, quarterback's the highest paid player. And I think that might be a part of it. The highest paid player, the expectations are often higher simply because of how much money they make. That's what fans do. I tend to not do that. I tend to understand that his importance to the game doesn't necessarily mean he's got to be the best player every week, right? He has to do his job, right? So I had 2 parts. One, I wanted to see if my viewpoint, based on statistics and the feel and what I see in the game, what do they match? Is he really the problem? Is he a problem? And I wanted to try and be objective. I said in the first podcast and probably in other podcasts, I don't try and fool anybody. I don't have to be objective. That's not the point. I'm a Stafford guy. I've said it. I don't apologize for it. I like our quarterback. I've liked him for probably the last 6 years. I think he came into his own around 2011 or 12, so maybe 7 years. I think that I've always known what he is, and I knew that he was a guy. There would be times where he would make mistakes because every quarterback does, even Tom Brady. But I always wanted to see, wait, are they arm mistakes or decision mistakes? And so I really wanted to take some time, and I would say to Mike, I want to see if he is what those people who do this for a living and who get paid to do this say he is, which is just negative bashing, but that's kind of what they do, and more power to him, whatever. And I want to understand if he, as the highest paid player, is having the impact on the game that we think he is. Is the quarterback really as important as we think he is? And so what I'm finding is two things. One, those guys who do this, they're just wrong. They're just wrong. He's somewhere between good and very good. He's not top 5, but he's probably somewhere around 10. He's probably borderline top 10, which is very good, better than anything the Lions have ever had, but it's good. I'm not even saying, oh, it's just because the Lions have had a series of horrible quarterbacks for the last 50 years. That's not it. I'm saying the guy's good by every measure, by every statistic. When you measure him against his peers, once you take out Rodgers and Brady and probably Drew Brees, and in the last, video game, last couple of years, Patrick Mahomes, maybe Russell Wilson, you take those 5 dudes out. We got to have a conversation about who is it that you're going to take that you know is better than Matthew Stafford? Who is it that you're going to take and say, I'm going to put his numbers in front of Matthew Stafford's numbers. Let's compare them. It's not Matt Ryan. It's not Andrew Luck because he wasn't healthy enough. Who is it? Who's the guy? I don't know who that guy is. You can't throw Derek Carrs and Jameis Winstons and Mariotas. You can't throw any of those guys out there. You can't. You can't put Trubisky out there yet, right? Not even Kirk Cousins. A Spartan. You can't even put Kirk Cousins out there. Matthew Stafford's better than most guys in the league. And the narrative on him is just wrong. And it has always bothered me 70% because I just hate the false narrative for the sake of generating fan anger and generating phone calls, whatever. That's just stupid, right? The reality is Matthew Stafford is somewhere between good and very good. And he has been for a long time. His arm talent is off the charts. So if you continue to listen to my podcast, I break it down, and I'm going to do it today. Today, same thing. He's not the reason we lost the game. I can point out 2, maybe 3 throws. One got away from him. I'm not sure if his hand got hit, but he had an open guy, and he just sailed it, right? One, he overthrew, I'm going to say it was Marvin, maybe, and another circus catch that Marvin almost made. So he's going to have 2 or 3 of those. But I'm also going to tell you he had a handful of those special arm talent throws that only he and a handful of other dudes can make, right? Both of those passes in the first quarter, there was arm talent throws. Those throws were perfect. Neither guy broke stride. The ball was perfect. You can't, don't believe that every quarterback in the league can make that throw because they can't. They just can't. Sorry. So 18 of 32, 265, pedestrian stats by every measure, especially considering his start. He had 180 in the first quarter, right? That ain't his fault. I'm going to tell you right now, that is play calling. That is scheme. That's Darrell Bevel. And it makes me sick to my stomach that he had 188 yards in the first quarter. He was like 8 of 9. And then after that, he generates less than 100 yards of passing the rest of the game. This coordinator, and I'm struggling right now. I got to be honest, guys, I'm struggling. I don't know what this is. I fear this is going to be the rest of the season is going to be this nonsense. And I don't know what happens to this guy in the game where he decides, okay, I'm going to put away the productive playbook, and I'm just going to pull out my little fun, hey, let's try these dive plays, and let's see if we can catch them off balance and bust a big run up the middle. This is nonsense. This is nonsense. You got a next level quarterback. You got probably the best total receiving core in the National Football League. Yep, I'm saying that. Include the tight ends, all the receivers. I will put Marvin and Galladay, Amendola, Jesse James, Hawkinson. I will put those 5 dudes against any receiving core in the National Football League. And this guy is running dive plays. I love Kerryon Johnson. I have him on my fantasy football team. What the hell are we doing? All right, this is about Stafford. Stafford played a simple pedestrian game, 83.5 quarterback rating is solid. That goes up to 100. He did not lose us the game. He had no interceptions, but he also had no touchdowns, right? You guys know my thoughts. I'm not going to do the touchdown to interception ratio thing again. I think right now he's still at 9-2, well above the 3-to-1 ratio I would like. I think he has 9 touchdowns, 2 picks. I didn't check because I didn't want to check. So I thought Stafford played a solid game early, and then I think handcuffs got put on him. The rest of the game, between bad plays that gave him no time, the sacks were ridiculous. I'm not going to bash the offense. I want to bash the offensive line because they did not have a good game. He got sacked. I didn't look it up, but I remember 3 off the top of my head, and there was no run game. So the offensive line, but we'll get to them. So I thought Stafford played a good game. No, he didn't. He played an okay game. Played well in spots. He played as well as he could play with the restrictions that were placed upon him. That would be my polite way of saying it. Matthew Stafford played as well as he could play with the restrictions that were placed on him. So enough about 9. There's no reason to bash him about this game. Anybody who calls into a sports radio program and bitches about Stafford in this game is they are what they are, and I don't really care. He's not the reason. And now I'm going to move on to highs and lows, right? Split into 2 areas, right? Sort of the performances and plays. There's specific plays, and sometimes there's conceptual things or general things I go through, and we call it highs and lows. So the highs and lows segment is usually easy for me. There's in every game, there's obvious concepts or philosophical things that you don't understand, highs and lows, right? The lows will be easy, but we also decided we want to pick out particular plays, right? Because in a game, there's often plays that, and the concept here was the plays that impact the game. We sometimes as fans get tricked, or we're human beings, and we see plays in the fourth quarter, and we go, oh, that changed the game. And in reality, I've never thought that way. And when we were talking about this, I said, no, there are things that happen early, and they're stuck in my mind. And I will think about a third down in the second quarter where we could have got off the field, but somebody committed a penalty and extended the drive, and they ultimately got a touchdown, or the Trey Flowers one where they were going to kick a field goal and the penalty, whatever. But those plays happen in the first and second quarter too. And so I think that I wanted to think about those things. And in that reaction time right after the game, just let them out. What are they? Now, here's the thing. They happen on both sides, right? So when TJ Hawkinson dropped a touchdown pass, he's got to catch that. Is it a tough catch? Yeah. You're a first round pick. You're a pro athlete. This is your job. It's what you do. And that ball hit both your hands. So when you come down, I'm not going to go on the rant of what's a catch and what's not a catch. I could do that all day. No, you get both your hands on the ball. My favorite player once said this. And they said, Herman Moore is his name. Played for 11 years with the Lions. His first year, he struggled with drops. And ultimately, it turns out it was like a contact lens thing. He literally said he got contact lenses and he could just see the ball better, right? And so they asked him about the philosophy of catching, because after that, Herman Moore just didn't drop the football. I'm sorry, the guy he just made catches. And I think he's underrated. I could do a whole podcast on Herman Moore because he is legitimately my favorite all-time player. Any team, any sport. And he's a great dude. But Herman Moore didn't drop passes, and he was really good. He happened to play in the same era with Michael Irvin and Jerry Rice. So a lot of people outside of Michigan just don't recognize it. But they asked him, and he said, if both my hands touch the football, I'm supposed to make the catch. That's it. If I get both hands on the ball, this is my job. This is what I do. I'm supposed to make the catch. Now, I give you TJ's drop, and I counter it with, what the hell, Aaron Jones? What the hell, right? Good for us, but could you be more open? Could the pass be more? How do you drop that? And he had a rough night. He's a good player, and he's going to get better. And his fumble, in my opinion, was much more of the Lions are getting really good at punching the ball out, stripping the ball. They're really good at that. It's still a fumble, and you've got to speak to that, right? You got to be held accountable. The drop touchdown pass, to me, might have been the most what the hell play of the game, and it helped us, right? Until I see Sam Martin kick the ball out of bounds. I'm sorry. The kickoff cannot go out of bounds. That's a 20-yard penalty. There's no other penalty on the books that's 20 yards. That's a 20-yard penalty. They start at the 40. Guess how that drive ended? Oh, wait, no. We had them stopped on third down, and Tracy Walker got called for holding, which extended that drive. Yep, guess how that drive ended? Yeah, that's what happens. That's the stupid shit. That's the stuff that just can't happen. So I jumped right into that rabbit hole. Okay, I'm doing the bad stuff first. The red zone offense is the worst thing of all. Forget about Hawkinson's drop. Forget about the kick out of bounds. I'm going to get to the 12 men on the field in a minute. The red zone offense is atrocious. And that's becoming my new favorite word, which is not a good thing. It's atrocious. It's 5 field goals. And while I love Prater, 5 field goals probably means you had 5 chances, in this case 4, because one of the field goals was like 50 plus. So they were still out around the 40. That's 4 red zone opportunities, if I'm not mistaken, that you didn't score a touchdown. Now you could say that's a glass half empty way of looking at it. They still got the 3. I don't care. I knew, because I'm a Lions fan and I watch a lot of football. Every time they failed to score a touchdown and Prater came trotting out, I uttered the term 4 points left on the field. 4 points left on the field. This game shouldn't have been close. If you convert 2 of those, it's 8 points. And this game it's a foot on your neck. I talk about trophy room theory. Teams that win trophies stomp you out. When they have you down 13-0, they stomp you out. When you have the Cardinals down 24-6, you stomp them out. And the philosophy of whatever that third down play call is, if it's not going to the end zone, whatever the second down call is, you should be trying to score every time you get the football. And I don't know, we're trying to score. No, you don't. I watch these games. I see the play calls. I see when they're settling for the field goal. I see the call on third down that screams to me, if we don't make it, it's okay, we'll get the 3. Know what you do? You don't get the 3. You lose the 4. That's what you're doing. You're leaving 4 points out there on the field. And I know what number 12 does. He's done it to us too many times. And I knew it. It's not even hard to figure out. When they scored the touchdown to make it 22-20, I knew the game was over. Everything inside me knew this game was over. It's not even hard to figure out. That is what trophy room mentality is. That is what stomp on their neck, stomp them out. You do not leave because the refs are stupid and they hate us and they suck. And they're not going to give you any chances. You cannot let that dude do this to you. You can't do it. You got to get in the red zone and you got to get in the end zone. And I don't care if you need to go back and rewrite half the damn playbook. You need to find a way to put the ball in the end zone. A touchdown that probably wasn't a touchdown, by the way, and 5 field goals is not going to win you a game at Lambeau Field. We all know that. What the hell are you doing? Get the ball in the end zone. Figure it out. Coming out early with the flea flicker and the big throws, great. And then you settle back and you start being Darrell Bevel again. Great, I get it. You've gone to a Super Bowl and great. I'm not trying to do your job. I'm telling you that the way you're doing your job right now sucks. Doesn't mean I have the answer. I know crap when I see it. And you can't put it on my plate, tell me it's meatloaf, and ask me to eat it. Because I'm not. So get me something else to eat. Because this meatloaf smells like shit. That's the bottom line. Find a way to get the ball in the end zone. Pressure on the quarterback. There's no pressure. They got the lowest blitz percentage in the NFL, and it shows. There were plays where Aaron Rodgers would just sit back there and tap dance like Sammy Davis Jr. He had all day. He's looking around. Now, they're going to come back and say, the coverage was great. It's a coverage scheme. And I see stats that say they play more man coverage than anybody. It doesn't matter. If you're only rushing 3 guys and you're dropping 8, Aaron Rodgers is too good for that. Sorry, that ain't going to work. He will sit back there. He'll tap dance. He'll slide left. He'll slide right. He'll do a spin. He'll bake some cookies and complete a pass. Oh, look at Jimmy Graham wide open somehow. Yeah, because there's no pressure. They rush 3 so much. But more than that, they don't blitz. I saw a blitz and Jared Davis got there. You know what? Incomplete pass. I don't get that. Now, that one might not be as big as I think it is because it's probably effective by some other measure. I don't know. But the Packers helped us. They dropped a lot of passes. Jones's touchdown drop wasn't the only one. It wasn't. The special teams thing. Okay, so I don't know how I'm supposed to do this, right? I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. I'm just going to tell you that kickoff out of bounds is, I don't even know what that is. If you tell me his foot slipped, because a lot of guys were falling in the turf, whatever, great, I'll buy it. If you tell me the ball was wet, I'll buy it. I don't think it was raining, though. The ball should never be kicked out of bounds. Under any you're a professional. This is what you do for a living. I'm sorry. That should never happen. The 12 men on the field, I want to get into it, but I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. That is, I don't even know. That's all coaching. There's somebody who designs the formation, right? I don't need to tell you guys this. If you're listening to this, you're probably a football fan, and you're probably feeling the same way that I am. What the hell? How do you do this twice? How do you do this twice? To do it once is mind-boggling. But how does this happen twice? That special teams has been a problem all year. I'm gonna bring it down a notch and just say simply this. There are multiple problems on special teams, right? We don't return punts well. We have not covered punts well. We had some issues, kickoff issues, and now there's 12 men. I'm done with the special teams guy. I never call for anybody's job. Not my thing. I don't do that. But they better change something. And this is the time where you need to come out and say to the fans, forget the media. It's not about the media. I think you owe an explanation to your paying customer what the hell is happening. And it's going to be very simple. Don't get all Belichick-y and come out and go, I refuse to talk. Just come out and say, we have made some mistakes in terms of formation and scheme on special teams. We are working hard to identify them. We will fix them. They won't happen again. If you come out and treat us like we're idiots and not tell us what the hell's the problem, because there's a problem. And if you want to throw a player on the bus and go, yeah, there's one guy on special teams who keeps forgetting which formations he's in and which formations he's not in, and he keeps running out onto the field when he's not supposed to, it's that one guy. We know who it is. We've talked to him. We're going to take care of it. And then I want to see a line item at the bottom of that article that so-and-so got released today. So I'll know who the hell it is, right? You can handle it that way. That might be harsh. I don't know. But you can handle it that way. That's a way to do it. You could throw the coach under the bus. Look, we tried to do some trick schemes for field goal blocks. And in those schemes, we lined up 12 players. I don't believe that. I don't think there's a scheme that on paper where you consciously line up 12 people. The reality is there's some idiot who keeps running out on the field when he's not supposed to be in that formation. I don't like calling for people's jobs. That dude's got to get cut. He's got to get cut. And my guess, and I'm not an expert, I'm not in the film room, I know nothing. My guess is the same dude did it both times. He thinks he's in the formation. They call the formation, which how many field goal block formations do you have to the point that some dude thinks he's in one that he's not in? Is it not the same 11 guys in every formation? Why does some idiot keep running out there and lining up when he's not? Okay, all right. I'm done with 12 men on the field. Okay. So there's just a couple other things, right? In general, I think that we are still forcing turnovers. That's a good thing. I like the ingenuity of the play calling early. That was a good thing. And then we digressed into what we do. And I thought Justin Coleman had a really heads-up play on that interception that bounced off that guy. So there were a couple of good things that I think happened. All in all, and guess what? I haven't gotten to the refs yet, right? The Lions did plenty. They did plenty to cost themselves this game. I will tell you with total conviction, the Packers did not beat the Lions in this game. The Packers did not beat the Lions. The Packers will tell you they didn't beat the Lions, right? The Lions and the refs got together. They had pizza. They had some grape soda. They exchanged some funny stories and said, hey, how can we go out and blow this game? And they came up with a nice little script together, and both sides did their jobs very well. And Aaron Rodgers did what he does. He took it. Because that's what teams that have trophy rooms and they put your foot on your neck. Okay, you want to give us the game, we're going to take the game. You want to give us the game, we're going to take the game. Cardinals tried to give us the game. We didn't want to take it. The Chiefs tried to give us the game. We didn't want to take it. That's the problem. That's who they are, and that's who we are, and that's the problem. That's it. It's that simple. So there was plenty of lows. There was a couple of highs, and I felt like I mentioned them, but this segment could have been called lows and lowers, and absolutely ridiculous. Could have been called anything. I struggled with the highs, but yeah. So in every game, right, we talk about this. There's a guy. There's a couple of guys, right? And there's good guys, there's bad guys. There's a guy, and I like to point out, right? We like to point out there's a guy who we think maybe played well, who did his job well, and we want to give him note because it's important. Because sometimes it's subtle and you don't always know, and it seems like there's a guy who makes big plays, and he is important. But then there's guys who just kind of under the radar do their job, and I might name this the Devon Kennard Award because although I'm not listing him this week, first 4 games I named him in this segment. So this is the Devon Kennard, sort of under the radar guy that just sort of does his job and doesn't get a whole lot of publicity. So here's the guy. So this segment, I always put out the disclaimer, right? We talked about this. This was Mike's concept. Mention that guy, right? That under the radar guy. And every week I violate it. And I mention a group of guys or a bunch of guys or a whole position group, right? And this week will be no different. I'm going to get the 2 good ones out early. I always debate good or bad first. This is a short list. Prater did his job, right? I'm disgusted that he had to kick 5 field goals, but you know what? He made all 5. And there's a podcast I could do on the history of kickers in Detroit. Like there are teams that have this thing. Like Pittsburgh, it's coaches. Pittsburgh's had 3 coaches in like 50 years. And that might be a little bit of exaggeration, but I don't think so. I think it was Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin, and it's been 40-ish years, maybe more. I won't look it up. Packers have essentially had 2 quarterbacks for the better part of 25 years. 2 quarterbacks, right? Unbelievable, right? For the Lions, it's kickers. We did Eddie Murray, and then we did Jason Hansen, and now we got Prater. And there's going to be about a 30-year stretch where we're going to go through 3 kickers. There are teams that have 3 kickers in a season. Hell, there are teams that have 3 kickers in 2 weeks. I've seen that. We're going to essentially have 3 kickers for the better part of 30 years, right? And a lot of that is, Hansen played like 20. But I think Murray played more than a decade. It'll be 40 years, 3 kickers, which is an interesting stat. It does mean that we have reliable kickers. I guess, and you know what? Maybe we can build a trophy room and put some stupid kicker trophy up there. I don't know. Prater did his job, and he just does his job. Our nickname for Prater is just money. I don't worry about Prater. Doesn't mean he'll never miss. Doesn't mean he'll never have a bad game. I've never had an ounce of worry about Matt Prater. The guy's money. The other guy I want to mention, under the radar, I thought he played a really good game, is Romeo Okwara, right? He kind of gets lost in the mix of that defensive line. You got Snacks, Ashawn Robinson, you got Trey Flowers. There's some really good players there. Romeo Okwara, I think, and probably should have been mentioned already in a previous podcast. I think he's having he just does his job. He just does a really good job. I think he's a great scheme fit. When they signed him, they knew that. And I think he had another solid game where he might have actually had a sack, certainly created a couple of pressures. I thought Romeo Okwara had a really good game. That's it for the good. I am dedicating the rest of this segment to the refs. So buckle up. Okay, so I'm trying to be calm, but I'm going to just put all the cards on the table. I believe with absolute certainty the refs cost us this game. We contributed, we did our share, but the refs literally cost us this game.
Oh, you suck!
I am so tired of talking about refs on my podcast. That's most of my anger is I don't want to be that dude, right? I don't want my podcast to be, oh, you're Epstein. No. But this shit keeps happening. I can't ignore what keeps happening. And if you watch the game, and I assume if you're listening to this podcast, you watch the game, you probably won't disagree with me. I don't know. So I'm trying to be less passionate about it and think it through and talk it through because I got to get it out. I got to get it out. And it's, so it's 2 parts. I think it's 2 parts. And I've talked about this a little bit before. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about one part today. The first part is that I think that there are rules on the books that are so unclear, so vague, so in need of thought. You have to think through them, that they have taken all of the instinct out of officiating a football game, right? So I think that whether it's player safety, whether it's avoidance of mistakes, the league, the competition committee, has put a lot of time and energy in the last decade since Calvin Johnson in Chicago about 10 years ago at trying to seek perfection, right? And there's a saying in what I do for a living, and it goes something like, do not let pursuit of perfection get in the way of getting better, right? Better is just better. And if you're constantly focused on trying to be perfect, you lose sight of the simple benefits of getting better, right? So I think there's a part of this that is about the league changing rules, adjusting rules, either to try and react to a mistake, see New Orleans, LA NFC Championship game last year, or to just try and be perfect, see the process. Okay, I'm not going to touch that part. That's on the league. That's on the competition committee. My guess is because they are who they are, mostly owners, if not all owners, they're going to mess this up even more, right? They're going to sit down after this season and say, wow, we got to do something that we people are bitching and moaning because they're about money. They're about the product making money. So some random fan of the Lions who has a podcast is never going to be able to impact the decisions that these guys make relative to a $15 billion a year business. Guess what? That ain't my goal. I'm telling you, I can't stand watching my favorite team play anymore. It was disgusting to watch. It was really hard to watch because I have to process that I'm a Lions fan, and the Lions are going to do enough shit in the game just to piss me off on their own because they're the Lions. That's what they do. That's part of what being a Lions fan is about. You know they're going to do dumb stuff. You accept that. You deal with that. You don't have the energy. You don't have the space in your mind and in your soul to process the refs screwing us over too. And let me make this clear. The refs screwed over the Packers also. The refs screwed over everybody, and they continue to do it. I think this is the 5th game podcast I've done, and I think I have mentioned the refs in 4 of the 5. Probably not in the first one. But a lot of this belongs on the competition committee, and they have massacred the rule book. They have tweaked and tampered with the rules so much that the refs are not comfortable just doing the job for fear of making mistakes, for fear of messing up, right? That's the best I can do on the competition committee. The second part is where I'm going to spend most of my time, despite the fact that I've already spent a lot of time on that. The second part is incompetence, right? I just believe that they, and it might tie to the first one, and I'm struggling to even find the words because I really want to separate passion from emotion, right? I am passionately displeased with how my team lost the game. I'm pissed at how the refs are the story. The refs are the point. The refs I'm talking about them on a podcast. I shouldn't be talking about the refs on a podcast. I should not be talking about the refs for the 5th time on a podcast. I want to talk about the game. This podcast is about one game. I'm not doing history lessons. I'm not talking about the season as a whole. I'm not projecting into the future. I'm talking about one game. And I got to talk about the refs again. The Tracy Walker roughing the unnecessary roughness penalty on Geronimo Allison. Set aside, I hope Allison's good. The game is football. Geronimo Allison plays football. He knows he plays football. He has trained for the bulk of his life to play football. So when Tracy Walker is legitimately going for an interception, how the hell can you call unnecessary roughness on that play? Is that just incompetence? Did the guy not see? Or are you saying now, hey, if I see two helmets hit, I'm throwing a flag? Because now you're just an asshole. You, Mr. Ref, you're just an asshole. Because that's not what that was. Call the penalty when it's a penalty. He was literally going for an interception, and the contact, incidental at best. Incidental at best. You cannot tell me Tracy Walker consciously tried to hit Geronimo Allison in the head. You can't. It defies the laws of physics, first of all, because they're both moving in different directions. He can't project where Geronimo Allison's head's going to be. He's not that good. Nobody's that good. That's not a personal attack at Tracy Walker. Nobody's that good. Good enough to say, hey, I'm going to target this spot because he's moving in two different directions. He's moving towards me and he's moving down. I'm going to project through the laws of physics that his head is going to be right there, and I'm going to target his head. That's dumb. That's dumb. And the ref is either incompetent or they're trying to make a point. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm questioning if the refs don't get together and purposely do this. It's rampant. It's almost like they're coordinating and they're doing it on purpose. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you throw that flag. Three of you get together and talk about it and still, yep, that dude targeted that other guy. No, I think what happens is you're scared and you see Allison on the ground not moving. You go, I got to do something. That guy got hit in the head and he's not moving. I got to call a penalty. But guess what? They play football. So yeah, guys get hit in the head. It's unfortunate. I don't want a guy to get CTE. But Geronimo Allison has probably trained since he was 10 because he wanted to be a pro football player. He was probably prepared to live with the consequences of being a professional football player. He probably enjoys significant benefit to he and his family because he's a professional football player. He doesn't play golf. He doesn't play tennis. He plays football. So guess what? He's going to go in the tent and he's going to try and go back in the game. And they're not going to let him. And guess what he's going to do? He's going to relax. He's going to get better. He's going to come back out and play football again. So now you make that call, which is utterly ridiculous. And guess what? That's just the first one I'm mentioning. It's not even the worst. It's not even the worst. I've ranted about pass interference for weeks. We don't know what it is. I contend the referees are making a point. I contend this is my philosophy again on that. Last year, NFC Championship game, the refs flat blew a call, right? And it cost the Saints an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. It just did. Everybody knows it. So then the league, the owners, as they are prone to do, completely overreact. And they create a rule where coaches can now challenge pass interference calls. Dumb concept, horrible execution, flies right in the face of human behavior. So the refs now, to make a point, have just flat out not overturned them at a ridiculous percentage. I didn't look up the number. I know it's going to keep getting worse. They're not overturning those calls. So as a result of that, which I campaigned for, so I am not mad. Those of you who are going to say, why didn't Matt Patricia challenge that? I said 2-3 podcasts ago, there's no point. There's no point. They're not going to overturn it. So now Patricia can't even throw the flag because he knows they're not going to overturn it, right? So it was pointless. And all that being said, the refs were right. We didn't need to change that rule. They made one super messed up mistake in a big game that cost the Saints a chance. Okay. When you mess up big, apologize. Go through the process of saying, I know what I did. I know it's my fault. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. You don't change the rules because now you just slap the refs in the face in front of the whole world. So now we know what they're doing. They're giving the league, the competition committee, every team the middle finger. Fine. You throw the flag. Challenge that. I won't explain my philosophy on it again, but don't ask me to come out and tell everybody I'm dead wrong, I messed up, because they're not going to do it. You can go back and listen to a previous podcast. I broke it down. From a human behavior standpoint, I broke it down. The refs are not going to overturn pass interference calls. So even when Marvin Jones was clearly interfered with, the guy literally clotheslined him, basically. His arm goes across his chest before the ball gets there. And by every definition, it interfered with Marvin's ability to catch the pass. Every definition of pass interference, every one. Patricia still didn't throw the flag because he knows they're not going to overturn it. The competition committee, the refs, you're messing up my game. Because this is some squabbling match where the refs are trying to make a point, they're trying to make a statement because they didn't like how they were chastised for an amazingly bad mistake they made. They might be right. They might be able to have a case where they stand up and say, you didn't need to change that rule. We messed up. We know we messed up. We don't need you to change the rule and give coaches a chance to tell us we messed up 10 times a game. Because we're not going to do it. If you're not going to do that and have an independent person look at it, it's still an official who makes the why would they do that? Okay, that one sucked. It was at a big point in the fourth quarter. It hurt. That was a really, really bad no call. But I saved the best for last. Right? And there's some of these against the Packers. I'm not going to spend my time going through them, right? I think there was a hold on a Packer player that really wasn't a hold, brought back like a 15-yard run. I'm not even going to do those. This is not just refs cost the Lions a game because they screwed the Packers multiple times. I'm not sure Kerryon Johnson scored a touchdown. I think what happened was they looked at the replay and they couldn't definitely tell, so they just stayed with what they called on the field. Had they said he didn't score, they wouldn't have overturned that. That screwed the Packers. Ultimately, it didn't screw the Packers because they won the game. But the rest sucked across the board, so that's not what this is. But they called Trey Flowers twice for illegal hands to the face. It is. I don't know how to define how costly both of those penalties were. If they were questionable, I probably would have said, oh, it sucks. Flowers got to do better. If they were, borderline calls, I wouldn't dedicate time on the podcast to it. It would just be, and those calls happen too. There are calls that are borderline. I don't bitch about those calls, no matter how they call them. I don't bitch about those calls. Like that holding call I talked about that went against the Packers. It wasn't holding. When I saw the replay, the guy didn't hold. He might have kind of wrapped, but I could see how a ref on the field in a certain position, that looked like holding. Because there's a little secret. The refs don't actually see like holding. They don't actually see, oftentimes, pass interference. What they see is a violent change of direction of a player's body. So if I'm running one way and I'm engaged with someone and all of a sudden my body jerks back the other way, the mind of an NFL official says, that guy must have grabbed the other guy. That's the only way his body jerks back in the other direction. That's what they see. They don't actually see the hand grab the jersey. It's going too fast. I'm not even blaming them for that. I'm not even saying that's a problem because I don't think it is. I think that most of the time they're right. That's exactly how a guy's body violently goes in the other direction. Sometimes holding is when you tackle a guy. It's easy. It's easy to see when a lineman grabs a guy's jersey and throws him to the ground or just tackles him. Block in the back, simple. You engage a guy in his back. If you can see his name, don't block him. Simple rule. Some of those are easy. Other ones are judgment calls based on just like human behavior, right? And you can see a guy running and then all of a sudden he's struggling and guy's got to be holding him. That's how they make these calls. So I think that sort of motion took place and they thought the Packer guy held. In replay, didn't hold, right? I can see that. It's a bad call. I can see that, right? These two penalties against Trey Flowers for illegal hands to the face I almost want to give the Packers tackle, and I'm guessing it was Bakhtiari because I think it's the left tackle, credit for leaning his head back to make it look like his face was being contacted. Here's the problem. He didn't touch his face, either call. And these were monumental calls, right? And so the normal fan, the media reaction, they're going to call for, and what the competition committee is probably going to do, is now they're probably going to give the coaches the ability to challenge this kind of no call, which is the exact wrong thing to do. Because you're systematically taking the ability for the officials to make mistakes out of the game. So now they're uber worried about making mistakes, and they're being careful, and they're missing calls that they should make because they're saying, we can look at it, right? That's now what's happening. They're not even using their instincts. These two calls were calls where they saw the Packers lineman head lean back and assumed Trey Flowers had a hand in his face. That's what happened here. That is dumb. That is reckless. That is ridiculous. But it is a product of what they're doing to our game. The competition committee is emasculating the officials. So they are either A, scared, or B, defiant. With the pass interference thing, I think it's defiance. I think it's a middle finger to them because they made the mistake in the game last year and they changed the rule and they feel emasculated. So like, F you. I think with these other calls, these absolute missed calls, it is that they feel so emasculated, they are scared. They're scared to blow the game by making a call, so they're blowing games by not making calls. And I just pointed out 4 of them. I think I could have gotten, I pointed out 2 on the Packer side. I just pointed out 6 without trying. These are not from notes. These are from my head. I pointed out 6 bad calls. Carry-on probably didn't score. That holding penalty against the Packers was not holding. Tracy Walker did not rough Geronimo Allison. The pass interference call on Marvin Jones was absolutely pass interference in the fourth quarter of a game. It is costly, and both of those hand-to-the-face calls were ridiculous. That's 6 of them off the top of my head. The officiating in this league is horrible. It is horrible. And it's part refs and it's part competition committee. And they need to fix it. I said this 2-3 weeks ago, and I'm stunned that I'm saying it again. And yes, I will say to you, the refs cost the Lions this game. The Lions did their part. Aaron Rodgers did his part. But the refs cost the Lions this game. Those 4 penalties were massive. 2 of them changed the game. They just changed the game. That somebody has to do something about the officiating in this league. The people talk about, violence in the game and parents are going to stop letting their kids play football. I don't agree with that. That's nonsense. And soon we won't even have football won't be recognizable. It won't be the game we loved growing up. It's not the game I love growing up now. It is not the game I loved 10 years ago now. And it is the league's fault. It is the league's fault. Take ownership of this. Fix it. Fix it. I talked about hiring refs full time, training them more, whatever it is. I'm not sitting here suggesting I have a solution. My job, right after an unbelievably crappy loss to our number 1 rival, a game we should have won, and I watched the officials take it. I watched the refs take it. Fix it. NFL, fix it. You are killing the game. It's not CTE. You're killing the game. It's not the players. It's not contracts. It's the league. Fix it. The refs are killing the game. This is what's going to make people just turn. And you couldn't have gotten me to ever suggest that I will stop watching football. Keep this up. Keep this up. Fix it. All right, I'm going to move on to 3 and Out. The section of the podcast where Mike throws 3 questions at me and I do my best to give an answer without losing my mind. So let's go.
Oh, Lions fans, what do I even say here? Other than the scripted 3 and Out questions that I have prepared. But, man, I was staying up late last night trying to finish the game strong with you guys, hoping that I could rejoice with Lion Nation, #OnePride. Man, was I disgusted. So on that note, let's get to these 3 and Out questions. So Demetrius, my man, what was the biggest reason for this loss, huh?
So, as much as I really want to say the refs, right, I just spent way too much time doing that. So I'm going to go a different direction. And this is the real answer. The ref thing's legitimate, obviously. It's red zone efficiency, right? It is. And I want to believe I get it, right? And so what I'm talking about, in case you don't know, is when you get the ball inside the opponent's 20, from the 20 to the end zone is red zone. Anybody listening to this podcast probably knows that. But here's the thing. It's obvious that if you're back in your own territory or in the middle of the field, the defensive scheme is probably, for lack of a better term, wider, right? There's more space because there's literally more space on the field. When you compact that and you're inside their 20, there's literally 30 yards to work with. So your safety can't be 40 yards off the ball because he'd be out of the end zone. So it's more compact and there's less space. This is my feeling after 5 games. Darrell Bevell's offensive schemes do not have plays. So let's put this in Madden terms. Those who aren't video gamers, Madden is universally recognized as the greatest video game of all time, right? Sports video game. Sorry, you League of Legends type dudes. Sports video game of all time. In this game, you call plays. So any of us who's ever played Madden, you call plays, right? They have the plays separated into these formations. And I think one of the sections is literally called goal line. And the idea there is the teams inside, say you're 5, you have certain formations because you have a limited amount of field to work with, right? Same thing on the offense. You have short yardage plays. You have, deeper, long yardage plays. I believe their red zone playbook, whatever it is, should just be scrapped. Just burn it. Just go in somebody's backyard, build a bonfire. I know a place up in Wisconsin that can take it. He's got the pit already built. Throw it right in the bonfire, right? And burn it. You have to come up because it's your job, Darrell Bevell, because you've taken a team to the Super Bowl, because you're supposed to be a genius. I'm not. Are you asking me if I could do it? Probably not. I'm not saying that. You don't always know the solution just because you have the ability to identify that there's a problem. And I don't struggle with that. There are many times in my work, I am completely equipped to identify the problem, but then I have to go get a person or a group of people to implement a solution because I can't do that. And my skill set is in identifying the problem. The ego gets set aside and you go, let me go find the right people to fix this. I don't know what that takes. I don't know how that works on an NFL coaching staff. I don't know how that works within a playbook. My fear is that when you get to the level that Darrell Bevell is, and it feels like this is a personal attack on Darrell Bevell. And if it does, I guess I should apologize, but I'm not going to because it needs to be fixed. And I think it's his job. This is more about who's accountable, not who's responsible. It could be the offensive line coach's job because the scheme is great and the offensive linemen are not employing the proper techniques to execute. Forget all that. I don't care about all that. I'm sorry, I just don't. Not right now. Not after this loss. Not after this loss. Whatever it is, the accountability for improving this, for making this better, falls on the shoulders of the man with the title, offensive coordinator. That man is Darrell Bevell. That's why I keep mentioning his name. So if you hear this and go, wow, he hates Darrell Bevell, I don't. By all accounts, he's really good at what he does. I've watched 5 games of this, and what I see is that in the red zone, they're horribly inefficient. Now, I'm going to go back and double-check my numbers, and if I have to apologize next week, I will. I know what I see. And I know what I saw tonight. And tonight they had 5 field goals. I'll set one of them aside because it was long. There were 4 opportunities to get touchdowns. Your offense produced 4 field goals. And in the spirit of honesty, the possession that produced a touchdown probably wasn't a touchdown. So if we're going to be really, really honest, you were horribly inefficient in the red zone. And I didn't mean to go on too long, Mike. The answer is simple. Red zone inefficiency. They have to find plays that work. They have to figure out schemes that work. They have to get mismatches. You have Hawkinson. You have Marvin. You have Galladay. I think I saw a fade route. Yeah, that was the drop touchdown by Hawkinson. I like that call. Let's do that some more because he creates a mismatch. If he lines up out there and they send a 5'10 linebacker, throw a fade. Throw a fade. Do whatever you have to do. But right now, your red zone offense is horribly inefficient, and we are producing too many field goals. As much as I love Prater, we're producing too many field goals and not enough touchdowns.
All right, man. So I'm watching the game last night. They get to halftime. Rodgers has like 99 yards, passing yards or something like that. Stafford's out slinging them by like around 100 yards. It was a tale of two halves, as they would say. So, like, what do they do? What do the Lions defense have to do to get more pressure on the quarterback?
Well, the obvious answer is to blitz more. That's probably too easy because there are consequences, right? And so I don't want you to walk away from this thinking, I just think they need to blitz more, because blitz packages get beat. There are plays called blitz beaters, right? And if you begin to blitz a lot, like our former head coach is the defense coordinator in Philadelphia right now, named Jim Schwartz, right? Schwartz blitzes a lot. And I love that. I think when you blitz, you make the other team uncomfortable and you force them to execute to beat you. So what I saw tonight was Aaron Rodgers had all day, most of the time. Even the sacks were coverage sacks. And that will be the comeback. They would say our defense focuses on coverage, right? When you're sending three guys and you're getting no pressure, Aaron Rodgers is going to find a way to beat you. It's Aaron freaking Rodgers. He's going to find a way. Now, will you get away with that against 62-year-old Phillip Rivers? Cue Mike's I've fallen and I can't get up drop? Maybe. You're not going to get away with that against Patrick Mahomes, who had two big scrambles that beat you. Those two scrambles, one early in the game that kept the drive alive that ultimately resulted in a touchdown, and one late in the game on fourth down that sealed it. Now, I don't like to go back to other games, but I'm making a point. If you don't get pressure on the quarterback, the good ones, which if you have aspirations of making the playoffs, if you ever want to build a trophy room at Ford Field, you're going to have to beat Aaron Rodgers. You're going to have to beat Drew Brees. You're going to have to beat Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. You're going to have to beat good quarterbacks, because look at the list. Look at the list. Go back to all the Super Bowls, and I might do it just to entertain you guys. All the Super Bowls, I'm going to say it's been 55 of them, whatever, 54. Look at the quarterback of the Super Bowl champ in every one of those, right? You will find a guy who's in the Hall of Fame, waiting to get into the Hall of Fame, or will one day be in the Hall of Fame in 48. You're going to have a Hostetler, a Trent Dilfer. No disrespect to those guys. They're pro football players. They have Super Bowl rings. Congratulations. You're going to see those guys, right? The guy in Tampa, Brad Johnson, might have been a quarterback of Tampa team. You're going to see a few of those guys. But you know what you're going to see more of? You're going to see Bradshaw. You're going to see Steve Young, Joe Montana. You're going to see John Elway. You're going to see four of them with the last name Manning behind them. You're going to see Troy Aikman, dudes in the Hall of Fame, dudes waiting to get to the Hall of Fame, dudes that will one day be in the Hall of Fame. You're going to see Brady's name behind, six of them. Hall of Fame quarterbacks get you to the Super Bowl. Even guys that didn't win. You're going to see Marino's name there. You're going to see Fran Tarkenton. You will have to beat good quarterbacks to get there. Now, if your goal is just to get a wild card spot and go home after a blowout loss in Philly or Seattle, great. We're well on our way. I think we're good. If you can't pressure the quarterback, they're going to beat you. Great quarterback's going to beat you. My point is very simple. Right now, you don't get pressure on the quarterback because you have the lowest blitz percentage in the National Football League, and you don't want to blitz. Apparently, your scheme says we're going to try and create pressure with three guys and get a bunch of coverage sacks. You let Aaron Rodgers sit back there and bake a batch of cookies, waiting for people to get open. Eventually, he's going to scramble out, find somebody open. He's going to beat you. Patrick Mahomes is going to beat you. Tom Brady is going to beat you. Drew Brees is going to beat you. Russell Wilson's probably going to beat you, right? There's a list of quarterbacks playing in this league right now that if you employ the scheme you employ tonight, they're going to beat you. I'm not saying you need to lead the league in blitz percentage. I'm saying you can't be last. There's got to be some kind of compromise. There's got to be ways to get pressure on the quarterback. And blitz might not be the only answer. It might be mixing it up. It might be sending corners. There was a blitz where Jarrett Davis came late right through the A gap. It was very effective. I don't know what the other answers could be. I am granting that there are probably multiple ways to get pressure to a quarterback. I am absolutely telling you with no uncertainty at all, rushing three and having the lowest blitz percentage in the National Football League is not one of them. So figure out a way, because you might get away with that against Kirk Cousins as much as I like him. You could possibly get away with that with Mitchell Trubisky if he's even healthy when they get here. Probably a Case Keenum or Dwayne Haskins when we get the Redskins. You might even be able to do that to Dak Prescott. I don't know. Not going to do it to Breeze. Not going to do it to Rodgers. Not going to do it to Brady or Mahomes. Ain't going to happen. So figure it out and get away. Find a way to get pressure on the quarterback. And if it requires you to blitz more, then blitz more. It's not rocket science. So that's going to kill you when you play better teams.
Yeah, and speaking of playing better teams, I've noticed that you're outscoring me in swear points today. A lot to a little. So I'm going to try to catch up on this last 3 and out question. I noticed you already talked about getting beaten versus losing. So which is it? Did the Lions fucking lose, or did the Lions fucking get beaten this week? And why the fuck do you think so? Take it away.
Wow. This is definitely losing a game, right? The concept is simple. Sometimes the other team is just better. They're just better. They're more talented than you, maybe at key positions. Zeke Elliott carved us up last year single-handedly. Maybe the quarterback is just better. And in this case, the quarterback is better. But in those games, all you can do is your best. And I'll use a grading system. That's probably the best way to do it. So there are times when if you play your A game, it doesn't matter. They're better than you. Their A game beats your A game. That happens. If you're a good team in the league, there's a lot of parity in this league, and there's not a lot. Right now, if we played the Patriots 10 times and they played their A game 10 times, they beat us 10 times. They're better. They're better at the most important position. They're better defensively. I might say the same thing for Seattle and possibly San Francisco. I'm not sure if I buy in yet. That is just a concept of they're better than you. They're either better, so much better at one position, a difference-making position, likely quarterback, maybe pass rusher. Khalil Mack single-handedly won games last year. I think Aaron Donald could be that kind of guy. Right? So they're single-handedly, they're better than you at either a single position or overall. Their defense is dominant. There's nothing you could do about those games, right? That's getting beat. They're better. They play their game. They're better. They beat you. I have never in my life felt bad about getting beaten. I've mentioned the 1991, I think the game happened in 92. It was the 91 season. The Lions went to the NFC Championship game, and they went to Washington. And I remember that morning thinking, I hope they don't get blown out. I never once thought they were going to win. There was not a moment in time where I thought they were going to win that game. I was thrilled that they won the playoff game. I didn't know it was going to be the only one in like 80 years or whatever. And that 25, 28 years later, I'm still talking about that game against Dallas. That season was a lot about emotion, and they played a really great game that day at the Silverdome. But that morning, when that game was about to start in D.C., there wasn't any part of me that thought, we got a shot. We could win. Wouldn't it be great if we won? I never thought that. I thought from the moment I woke up that morning, I hope we don't get smoked. The reality was that Redskin team was next level. Now, Mark Rippon's one of those quarterbacks I should have mentioned earlier. Not great, not Hall of Fame, but that year, he was unreal. That Redskin team, again, play us 10 times. It doesn't even matter where those games are played. They're going to beat us 10 times. They were better. They were better. We got there on emotion and a great game against Dallas. And the Redskin team was next level. That was a championship team that won the Super Bowl. And we were never going to beat them, right? That's not what happened tonight. That's not what happened tonight. Green Bay might be a good team, but they're a good team that is injured. They're a good team that turned the ball over 3 times. They're a good team that played a C-plus game. And they still beat us. They beat us with a C-plus game. Why? Because we committed legitimately ridiculous penalties, 12 men, some costly penalties. The refs didn't help. I'm not going to go over it again. And I believe that we still do not have a killer mentality. We do not have stomp them out. We do not have foot on their neck. We don't have trophy room. Whatever I want, feel free to use any of them in any of my many analogies. And again, all credit. Trophy room is Chris's, not mine. Feel free to use any of those. Any of those. You know what I mean. When you're up in Arizona, 24-6 in the third quarter or early fourth quarter, that game's over. The game's got to be over. Even when you're up 13-0 at the end of the first quarter at Lambeau, you got to put your foot on their neck and stomp down as hard as you can. A little graphic, but you know what I'm saying. You don't let up. And in my mind, Darrell Bevell has demonstrated a propensity to let up. I think we had Kansas City on the ropes. They let up. They let up in their play calling, and in the red zone, I think they settle for field goals. I think they get to the red zone and the creativity vanishes. And he flips the card over and he looks at the dull, boring, let's make sure we get a field goal section of his playbook. That mentality is how you lose. I think most people can handle getting beaten. And in every competitive thing I've ever done, whether it was baseball when I was younger or 3-on-3 basketball, if the other team was better and they beat us and we gave a A to B effort and we just got beat, you can walk away and think, you got to live with that. You got to live with that. If you go out there and you play like crap, or you conceptually don't play with the aggressiveness and the hunger and the desire to build a trophy room at Ford Field, you're going to lose games. And I hate losing. I can process getting beat. I hate losing. Tonight, they lost. They lost because of their own mistakes. They lost because of the refs. They lost because Aaron Rodgers is not going to continually let you toy around and give him a chance to win. And when they got the ball with 6 minutes left down 2, every real Lions fan knew that game was over. We have seen this movie many, 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 many times. You know that game's over. You know it's over. There's nothing in our history. And this isn't same old Lions. No, you just know that when it was 13-0, I was more upset when it might have been 13-7, but I think it was 13-0 and we had the ball and we 3-and-out it. When that 3-and-out happened and the punter came trotting out there, I said, that is where we lose this game. We were up 13-0, I think. And I said, that's where you lose the game. Because the play calling on that series was, let's try and get a couple of first downs. I don't know what the play calling was. I don't even want to try and explain it. It's clear through 5 podcasts. I have no idea how the mind of this offensive coordinator works. The guy who comes out and calls a flea flicker on the opening play of the game. How does that guy run 20 times? I'm going to guess 18 of them were between the guards for 56 yards. I don't know how that guy does that. I don't know how that guy gets in the red zone 4 times and comes away with 4 field goals. 5 times, 4 field goals, and a touchdown that shouldn't have been. I don't understand it. I'm trying, but I don't understand it. But for me, this falls squarely as a loss. And it's the worst kind of loss because it's a loss in the division. It's a loss on the road. It is a loss to your biggest rival. And it is a loss where they didn't play well. And you still lost the game. And I'm not going to just I spent a lot of time on the rest, but I'll just put on the rest. It's 3 parts. It's 3 parts. It is dumb, costly penalties that were legit. It is conservative, benign, whatever word you want to use, play calling, particularly in the red zone. And it is horrible officiating that's killing my game. So let's wrap it up with what's next. So what's next? Next week, the Vikings come to town. Needless to say, it's a huge game now. I think we just crapped away a really good division win tonight. This is a home game against a division team. So to call it a must-win might be too early in week 7, but I think it's a big game. And I think we need to know who we are relative to the Vikings because I'm still not sure who they are. Right? Last week, 2 weeks ago, they were in shambles, complaining, and guys were asking for trades and bitching about the quarterback. And then a couple weeks later, apparently all is good. And Kirk Cousins is the MVP of the league, and Stephon Diggs is the best receiver in history, whatever. yeah, I'm still upset. There's not a lot of time to spend here. Minnesota's 4-2. We're going to find out who they are. We're going to find out who we are. This is big in terms of how do you bounce back from adversity, right? There's a character measure, right? Of when you get knocked down, do you get up? How do you respond? So there's three things that can happen, right? They play a crappy game. Minnesota beats them down. We know who the Lions are. And it'll be some fun podcast the rest of the year. It'll be interesting, whatever, but we know who they are. Second one, they correct some things. They play better. It's a close game, irrespective of who wins or loses. It's a close game. We're back where we are. We don't know who they are. Win or lose, we don't know who they are because I contend they have not played a complete game this year. The offensive coordinator has not called a complete game this year. They have not played a good game in all three phases this year, right? I should be happy that they're 2-1 considering how they played because you got 2.5 quarters in Arizona that were, wow, this is nice. There were moments where the offensive line, 2 games didn't allow sacks, but they didn't play well in Philly. They didn't play well against the Chargers. They played just well enough to lose 2 weeks ago against Kansas City. And whatever the hell this was, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I'm done. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they are. My ask, what I would like, I don't even care. If Minnesota comes out and plays their full potential best game ever and you get beat, I'll swallow it, right? Play one game where you play well for 60 minutes in all three phases. That's what I would like. Because then I will know what you are. I will know what you are. I'm at a point where I'm deciding what you are is a really inconsistent offense, a horrible special teams, and a defense that gives up a ton of yards and is very opportunistic, which makes for what? 8-7-1. Let's watch the playoffs at the bar. Congratulations. I'm tired of that. I want to know what they are. Good one way or another. I want to know what they are. So shorter version of this is the big game. It's big because it's division. It's big because it's at home. It's big because you just pissed away an opportunity to win at Lambeau when you shouldn't have. It's big now. So we'll see what happens. I want to thank you for listening, particularly today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to Mike, my super producer, as always. You know where you can find us, right? The link's on YouTube. You can check us out on SoundCloud. You can tweet us if you have suggestions for how we fix special teams. You can post on our Facebook page how the hell to fix the refs. I'm open for all that. But what I would like is for you to like us on Facebook, to give us a rating and a review, and hopefully you like it. The music contribution, as always, I want to give the thanks to Verified Picasso, Otis McDonald, Wayne Jones, Density and Time, The Grand Affair, Young Logos, spelled Y-U-N-G, Diamond Ortiz, and MK2. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you next week.